So today we're going over my movie rating system, which is the 5-star system that I'm going to use to rate movies because I'm going to do movie reviews now for some reason. I watch a lot of content, honestly, like a lot of movies. I have the AMC A list on top of the fact that I have Netflix and HBO, or sorry, Max now, and Hulu, Paramount, Peacock, Showtime, all this stuff. So I watch a lot of content, and I actually would like to review not only movies but like TV shows and stuff like that, short films, and the like. So this is basically going to be also a review channel now. But I wanted to go over my rating system because I feel like I watch a lot of like reviews also for movies, and I'm like, I don't know, like they'll do like a 10 out of 10 or a A through F system, like A or B or C or whatever, but I never know what they base their like system on. Like, why do they give it the rating that they give it? You know what I mean? Like, for me, for example, I'd like to do the 5-star where each star means something, and if you did good in a certain category, which in these 5 will be, story, plot, and premise, sound design or score or music, cinematography or how the movie looks, how pretty it is, acting and the cast, like, if they vibe with each other, if there's chemistry, and or if they're just really good, like there's good acting scenes in it, and directing, of course, the guidance of the film, how from beginning to end, how it was made and stuff like that. So basically, I want to go over a couple films that I watched recently, or rather rewatched, because for some reason they had the Invasion of the Body Snatchers on HBO Max, and I started watching it, and then it got me to like wanting to watch the other Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So anyway, we'll go over that in a minute. But this is my rating system. So it's 1 through 5. So I'm either going to give the highest movie, the highest praise I can give a movie is 5 stars. And that's basically because it ticked all the boxes of all the things that I think matter, more or less, in a film. And, there could be... I'm not saying that 1 star means that it only did good in story, plot, and premise. I will specifically, in the review, state what it is that I enjoyed, what it is that I didn't enjoy, and why I gave it the rating that I gave it. So I'll ding it if like the sound design or the score is bad, so that'll bring it down to 4 out of 5. Not saying that, it'll be, like I said, number 2 doesn't mean, sound and design. I know that that's how I wrote it here. I'm just saying it'll have still 4 stars out of 5 or 3 stars out of, 5 or whatever it is. But I'll tell you which of the 3 things it did right and which 2 it left out, if it's 3 out of 5, for example. So let's start with the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and this is the one that's not on. It's actually not on. It's not on Max. I watched it on. I think it's on Paramount Plus. So this is the black and white OG original Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956. I saw this when I was younger. I don't remember why. I think it was on one of those, old channels, Turner Classic Movies or something like that. Like, it's just, I'm old, so it was on cable, and I watched it, and whatever. So it's really good. It's still really good, actually. I rewatched it again. I would give it. Let's go over the list. I put the little trailer here just so you could see which one I'm talking about, and I played it without sound, so hopefully I don't get copyright stricken or whatever. So basically, back in the day, they didn't have a lot to do, or not a lot that they can do, but they did pretty good, in my opinion, with the pods and the whole premise of the thing. Like a lot of the old black and white horror movies, let's say, were like really hitting. Like they did a lot of stuff where they played with a lot of camera tricks, a lot of film stuff. Like they were still figuring it out, but they did a lot of stuff that to this day it still looks good. Like you can still watch it and it's still an entertaining movie, in my opinion. Again, let's see. Let me pause this and let's go back to my list. So story, plot, and premise. I think since again it's the original, it's like fresh. I think it's still from a book. Like I think there was a book, and then they made a movie of the book, so it's taken from a book. But the story is really good. The way it pans out is pretty good. There's a little bit of, plot inconsistencies, but that's back in the day, so I'm not going to ding it for that. The sound design and the score was good. At least I guess remastered now because, I'm watching it on a streaming service, so it sounds really good. Cinematography, I guess cinematography was pretty good for what they had back then, I guess, because there are scenes that I do remember, even from my childhood, from that stuff. The acting in the cast, the acting was pretty good. It's not that bad. Even in today's standards, it's pretty okay acting. It's not that bad. And the directing was pretty good. So I'm gonna give that one a 5 out of 5 because again, it's the OG. It started it all, and I don't like. There's flaws obviously you can find because it's an old movie, but not because it's a bad made movie. If that makes sense, right? Like obviously, if we have the effects and the things that we have now, the things that we see in this movie are still like really good for the time that they made it, in my opinion. So I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 5. It was pretty good for its time. I think it did pretty well in my opinion. And yeah. Next, we're gonna go with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is the 1978 version. This is the one that I saw on Max. This is the one that's on Max. So if you have Max, you can actually check this out if you want to. It's an oldie, but it's still good in my opinion. So this one actually had Jeff Goldblum, which I was not expecting to see, but I didn't know how old he was. But I guess he's this old, and a couple other people you might recognize. But yeah, it's a really really good movie. Still, like again to this day, still holds up. The effects are pretty good. They're not that bad, but they didn't really go like I don't think that heavy. Like when the pod people were coming out of the pods. That all is practical effects. It all looks good. The leaf, like the thing landing on the leaf, that's all practical effects. It all looks pretty good. I'm gonna say, all of it still holds up to the today. So to me, I'm gonna go with the story and plot. Again, it does basically follow the same story and plot as the first one, except for like a couple changes here and there. So I'm not gonna say that it gets to me. It doesn't get a star for that because it literally follows the other one like almost to the T. The sound and design and the score again really good. Cinematography I think in this one a lot better. But again maybe it's because it's in color. To me it's a lot better because it's in color. Maybe I don't know. The acting and the cast really really good. I don't Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum's acting is something you really gotta like or you either like it or you dislike it, kind of like Nicolas Cage. But I feel like there was one scene where he had to like cry and he couldn't cry, so they like kind of like I don't know Windexed or they gave him like a little tear, and I was like that's not good. But for the most part, everybody else and all the stuff happening in the movie and the other parts that Jeff Goldblum was in, he did pretty good. So I'm gonna give it for acting and the directing, really really good. I think so. I'll give this one a 4 out of 5. Again, just because the story, very similar to the first one, not that different. Each one kind of has a different version of what's happening for the times. Like the 1958 one, or 1956, had a lot to do with what was going on during that time. This 1978 one has a lot to do with what's going on in that time and the mass hysteria and the women being able to, like, have freedoms that they didn't have. So it was a lot more focused on the female character a little bit more than the male character, but then in the end it was I'm not gonna spoil it, but watch the movie, really good. Again, it's on Max if you want to watch it, if you want to check it out. Still holds up in my opinion. I'd give it a 4 out of 5 only because again the story is very 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 similar to the first one, even with the endings and all this other stuff, so it didn't really change a lot, but it was still entertaining to watch in my opinion. All right, what else? Let's go with the Body Snatchers. Now, this is where they took the invasion out of it. This was the 1993 film, and this has Forrest Whitaker. Again, young Forrest Whitaker. I think even before The Lazy, I don't know. I didn't see it in this one. It looked like he was cured, in my opinion, in this one. But again, this one's not that great, but it's for different reasons. So let's go back to my list. So I'm going to say let me pause this real quick. So the story, plot, and premise they stick a lot to the original plot and premise with the pods, with, how they affect people, like the stuff and the thing, going to sleep, yada, yada, all this other stuff. So again, the story and premise, kind of the same. It does take place in a military base instead of like a regular town, but I feel like because it's 1993, that was like the way that they could also make it into a small town because the budget they probably had wasn't for like a whole city. So it was like, it was very contained. That's the way that they could have contained it. So I feel like that's why they went with a military base in this one. The sound design of the score, I don't really like it. Like it's not memorable as the other two. It's not as effective in my opinion. I really do like the shrill sound that the aliens make, like the body snatchers make when they when they're trying to find you out. They go ah! Like it was really good in this one as compared to the other two because the other two I guess were just people screaming. And it's still effective in the other two, but in this one it was like really jarring. So it was like a lot more effective. But again, the sound to me wasn't like the cinematography, the score or the music wasn't as impactful or as effective. I feel like it was in the other two. So I'll ding it for the story. I'll ding it for the sound as well. Cinematography, I'll give it the cinematography. It's more modern looking than the other two, but the shots that I do remember from it, and again, I just recently watched it, but again, I watched this not in 1983, but maybe like 2000 something, like a while ago. And it's good. It still holds up. There's some bad like CG parts. Like there's a part where like there's a kid in a helicopter. That's as much as I can say. And it doesn't look that great, nowadays. But apart from that, everything else is mostly practical effects, so it all really works out. The death scenes I feel are a lot better in this one. Like the people that die and get their bodies taken over, you feel it more in this one. Like it's a lot more, I feel, gruesome than it was in the other two. So I feel like for that, I'll give them cinematography for that one. It looks a lot better. The acting in the cast, the acting was okay. There's a lot of focus on the kid actors, like the teen and the kid, and not a lot on the adult actors. Like they are there. It's just a lot more focus is given to them, and they're not that great of actors. So it's not that great, but it's passable enough that you're like, okay, it's believable enough that you're like, all right. So I won't ding them for that. And the directing, I'll give the directing a pass. Like it's okay. It was good. It was well directed. There are sequences that I would have kept out myself, but for the most part, it was all right. So I'll give this one a 3 out of 5, right? Yeah, because I dinged it for 2. So I give it a 3 out of 5. But yeah, like my bad. I'm gonna try to keep coming back to the trailer while I'm talking about it because as you can see, so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit. Like they're like I said, their character, like the kid is the main focus in the movie. Like a lot, you follow the kid a lot. You follow the teenage daughter a lot as well. I don't know why they're showing Forrest Whitaker so much. He's barely in the movie, but I guess that sells the movie. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, but like I said, I already gave it a rating. All right, let's see what else. Alrighty, so right after that one is the most recent one, and they still haven't adapted, to my knowledge. They haven't adapted to the new, a new version yet. And this is The Invasion with AMC's own Nicole Kidman. So this one, I think, because I guess it's most recent, but it also like refreshed a lot of the things that the other, like the original kind of did, in refreshing the story and all this other stuff. So I think this one to me holds up the most. Like if you want to have a good invasion thing, like it takes the pod situation away a little bit, and it becomes more of like a virus, and you're your own pod in that case or whatever, and it's like a virus that affects you. So like I said, it's like very, especially now, like this is back in 2007, but especially now it hits a lot different. Like I just rewatched it and I'm like, ooh, yeah, I feel that. But yeah, like it's like a virus thing, and then they're trying to infect you. It kind of becomes more like a zombie type of thing, even though but they're like smart zombies, I guess. So it was like like they're trying to infect you with for you to become them, which is in all of them really, but it felt more zombie-esque in this one because they felt more like they were attacking you. In the other ones, it was more like they took over and all this other stuff, and they were like regular people. And this one, it was more like they're people, but they're like they're kind of, like I said, like kind of zombies. You know what I mean? Like they are a little bit zombies. So But at the top, oh, right, let me go through my list. My bad. We're pausing and we're going back. So the story, plot, and premise, I feel they refreshed it enough that it made it fresh, like new. Like I felt like I was watching something relatively newish compared to the other. And again, I just finished watching all the other ones, so I'm like, okay, this feels fresh. So I'll give it for the story. I'll give it for the plot. I'll give it to them. The sound design and the score didn't really stand out to me. The music and the music design, like the sound design, it was alright, I guess, for what it was, but it wasn't really like, it didn't really, nothing really stands out to me. The cinematography, I'll give them the cinematography. So this was shot in definitely in a city. A lot more bodies, a lot more terrain that they covered, different settings, train stations. Walking across the city, like giant city things, the suburbs, like a bunch of different places that I'm like, yeah, this, and it felt like bigger in scope too. So I liked it a lot. The acting is really good. Nicole Kidman does her thing, like really, like she sells it. Daniel Craig is in this too, like young James Bond. I completely forgot he was in this movie. Really good in this movie. The scientist guy, I forget his name, but he's also very good. He's a good actor. He's in a lot of stuff. All of the even the kid actors were really good in this. So yeah, like top notch. The acting was very. I feel like the acting in this one's a lot better than most of the other films, at least compared to the original one. And the directing really good. I don't have any like I wouldn't have. I feel like they did what they could with the time. It was like edited nicely. It was fast paced. It didn't really feel slow. A lot of things happened more or less, as rapidly as they could, and everything was explained pretty well. So I'm gonna go with 5 out of 5 for the Invasion, as compared to the other ones. But yeah, I like the Invasion. It was good. It was good. It was good adaptation. If they make another one, I feel like they should adhere more closer to this one, like make it more realistic in aspects of how the aliens would attack or would be here. Like I like the virus aspect of it a lot. But that's me, and yeah, it was good. It was good. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 for the Invasion. Yeah, what else? So that's boom. What, 4 movies? I think 4 movies that I did. It was just to show the rating system, like how it's gonna work, so that just because I gave this one a 3 out of 5, but specifically why did I give it a 3 out of 5, and the reasons, like the actual elements of what it is that went into it. That I'm like, okay, these 3 things they did good. These 2 things they didn't do as good, so that's why I'm dinging them for this, or I'm giving them a pass for that, right? So, mind you, if you ask me, is this, is Invasion a 5 out of 5 horror film? I'd say not really. Like what I'm saying, like how to explain, as compared to like let's name a recent, like The Conjuring. Conjuring to me 5 out of 5. But like operating on super high levels on each, level. You know what I mean? This one, not so much operating on all cylinders, but compared to the others, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's confusing, but basically, just because of 5 out of 5, this is a 5 out of 5 film, The Invasion, to me, does not make it to me the same level as a 5 out of 5 film, like, as I said, like The Conjuring, or as I would say, for Ari Aster's more recent one, Hereditary. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are like top tier to me horror films that are, supersede the 5 out of 5, if that makes sense. But they would still receive a 5 out of 5. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully, this system that I'm going to implement, and I'm going to review a bunch of, again, TV shows, movies, they're all coming at you. And hopefully you guys are with me on it. Yep. See you on the next one. And this has been A Useless Skill.